The first mistake was giving humans our garbage and calling it a gift. At the time, the Galactic Disposal Authority considered the whole thing hilarious. I know because I was there, standing on the observation deck of the cruiser Pale Crown, watching our tug ships drag the dead warship through the upper atmosphere of Earth like a rusted trophy. My name is Commissioner Valen Oryx, Senior Logistics Officer of the Theron Compact, and in my defense, nobody in that room believed humanity could do anything useful with a vessel older than most of our border colonies. The ship was called the Carvox. Once, 3 centuries ago, it had been a siege cruiser. 900 feet of armored plating, broken cannons, burned-out shield nodes, and a fusion spine so unstable that even our cheapest mining guilds refused to tow it. By modern standards, it was junk. Expensive junk, radioactive junk, politically inconvenient junk, but junk all the same. Earth had recently petitioned for access to surplus interstellar hardware, claiming they wanted to study defensive engineering. The Council laughed for 6 minutes. Then Admiral Sorik, may his reputation never recover, suggested we dump the Carvox on them. Not sell it. Not lend it. Dump it. Make a ceremony of it. A grand gesture of galactic generosity. Give the little blue planet a dead monster and watch them struggle to understand which end had once pointed at the enemy. Earth's ambassador, a quiet American named Caleb Morrison, accepted the transfer without blinking. That should have bothered us. It did not. Caleb was male, pale-skinned by human classification, with short brown hair, a dark suit, and the kind of calm expression that made him look more like a tired school principal than a representative of a rising species. He stood in the docking gallery beneath our banners while Admiral Sorik announced that humanity was being granted a historic opportunity to learn from superior civilization. The cameras loved that line. So did the Council. Caleb simply looked through the viewing window at the dead warship hanging above his homeworld, then asked one question. Is the entire vessel ours? Sorik clicked his mandibles in amusement and said, every obsolete bolt, every useless plate, every silent gun. Take it all. Caleb nodded once. Thank you, Admiral. We will make sure it is remembered. There are sentences that sound harmless when spoken by humans. Later, you learn they were not harmless at all. We expected them to park the wreck in orbit and spend 50 years arguing over safety protocols. Instead, within 4 hours, Earth had tugged the Carvox down to a sealed desert facility in Nevada, 30 miles from the nearest civilian road. Within 12 hours, every major human engineering firm had filed partnership requests. Within 1 day, their military had wrapped the site in a security perimeter so tight our spy drones started losing signal before they crossed the horizon. We laughed again. We said the humans were excited children with a broken toy. Then the lights came on inside the Carvox. By the time those lights appeared inside the dead cruiser, the broadcast had already become the most watched comedy event in 6 sectors. That was how the Council listed it in the entertainment archives, not as a transfer ceremony, not as a diplomatic exchange, but as cultural amusement. Every major station carried the feed. Dockworkers in the Orion trade lanes paused their cargo lifts. Students at the Vexery Military Academy gathered around classroom screens. Even the nobles of the inner spiral tuned in from their floating gardens, eager to watch a young planet receive what we considered a broken relic with the manners of grateful peasants. The camera angles were chosen to make Earth look small. That was deliberate. The blue planet hung beneath the Carvox like a marble under a falling iron building, clouds turning slowly, oceans shining, completely unaware of how ridiculous we thought the moment was. Admiral Sorik stood before the Council seal with his ceremonial armor polished bright enough to blind a sensor array. I stood behind him with the transfer documents, trying not to look bored. Caleb Morrison stood on the human side of the platform, still calm, still pale, still wearing that plain dark suit that looked embarrassingly underdecorated beside our formal command attire. No medals, no jeweled rank chain, no visible weapon. Just a human with 2 quiet eyes and a folder tucked under one arm. Sorik addressed the galaxy first. He explained that the Theron Compact believed in guiding lesser civilizations through generous exposure to superior engineering. He said Earth had shown enthusiasm, if not competence. He said the Carvox would provide humanity with centuries of educational opportunity. The crowd in the council chamber laughed politely. The delay across the public feeds carried that laughter outward until half the civilized galaxy was laughing with us. Caleb waited for it to fade. Then he said, "Thank you for your confidence in human curiosity." That was all. Not anger. Not shame. Not even a protest. I remember thinking the man had no pride. I was wrong. Miles below, in a sealed command trailer on the edge of the Nevada desert, another human was watching the same broadcast with the sound turned low. His name was Ryan Walker, according to the intelligence file I reviewed later. American systems engineer. Former Navy weapons analyst. 38 years old. White male. Brown hair. No public fame. No heroic title. The kind of human our analysts dismissed because his file contained more patents than speeches. While the galaxy laughed at Earth, Ryan was not watching Sorik. He was studying the warship. He paused the feed on a close view of the lower hull, zoomed in on a row of blackened maintenance ports, and asked the first question that should have terrified us. Why are the reactor vents still sealed? One of the human officers beside him said the alien report listed the core as dead. Ryan looked at the screen for 3 full seconds. Then he said, "Reports are written by people who stopped being curious." Outside that trailer, floodlights snapped on across the desert. Heavy trucks rolled over hard dirt. Engineers in white helmets crossed painted safety lines. Cranes moved into position around the alien wreck before the metal had fully cooled. The humans did not cheer. They did not wave flags. They did not make speeches for the cameras. They went to work. That silence bothered one junior analyst aboard the Pale Crown. She told me Earth was responding too cleanly, too quickly, as if they had already planned for the insult before we delivered it. I told her not to be dramatic. I said humans were scavengers staring at a machine they could barely name. Then the first human-cutting laser touched the Carvox, and instead of breaking the hull open, it followed the original maintenance seam perfectly. Ryan Walker did not enter the Carvox like a man stepping into alien history. He entered it like a mechanic walking under the hood of a used pickup truck that the owner had insisted was beyond saving. That was the first thing our analysts failed to understand about humans. They did not worship advanced technology just because it came from the stars. They looked at it, tilted their heads, and asked what idiot had designed the access panel behind 3 layers of decorative armor. The interior of the Carvox should have intimidated them. The main corridor was 40 feet wide, ribbed with black support arches, lit by emergency strips that flickered in sickly amber along the floor. Gravity plating still worked in uneven patches, pulling boots down hard in one section and letting dust float in the next. Alien warning symbols covered the walls, some burned into metal, some scratched by crews who had died centuries before any human city had reached orbit. Ryan walked past all of it with a flashlight in one hand and a paper notebook in the other. Paper. I remember zooming in on that detail through a long-range surveillance lens. A human standing inside a galactic siege cruiser, writing notes with a pen like he was inspecting a backyard generator in Kansas. Beside him moved a team of American engineers, Navy technicians, Air Force systems officers, civilian contractors, and 2 older women from something called Oak Ridge who argued with each other about reactor geometry in voices so calm they might have been discussing Thanksgiving recipes. They mapped everything. Not quickly. Carefully. That was worse. They did not tear the ship apart like scavengers. They listened to it. Ryan stopped at every junction, touched the walls, studied cable routes, checked heat scars, and asked questions that made my junior staff go quiet. Why does the command spine bypass the weapons grid? Why is the shield lattice separate from propulsion? Why would they isolate the targeting brain unless they were afraid of feedback? I scoffed at first. He was guessing. Humans guessed dramatically and called it intuition. Then he opened a service hatch our own disposal survey had classified as fused shut. He did it without forcing the lock. He noticed the hinge pattern, wiped away carbon scoring, and told the technician to rotate the manual release counterclockwise by ½ an inch. The panel side open. Inside was not treasure, not a miracle weapon, not some lost secret of the ancients. It was uglier than that. It was a design flaw. A beautiful, expensive, empire-sized design flaw. The Carvox had not been useless because it was weak. It had been useless because its original builders had made every major system too proud to cooperate with the others. Weapons fought the engines for priority. Shields argued with sensors. Navigation ignored damage control until damage control screamed loudly enough to matter. To us, That was normal legacy architecture. To Ryan Walker, it was a room full of departments that needed a better manager. He stared into the open hatch for almost a minute. Then he looked back at the team and said, "The ship is not dead. It is just badly organized." The phrase badly organized reached my console through a stolen vibration pickup inside the lower maintenance corridor, and I remember feeling insulted on behalf of 3 centuries of Theroan naval architects. Badly organized. That was how Ryan Walker described a siege cruiser that had once forced entire border systems to rewrite their defense policies. Not ancient, not majestic, not beyond human comprehension, just badly organized, like a cluttered garage in suburban Ohio. Then he proved it. Over the next 16 hours, the Nevada desert stopped looking like a recovery site and started looking like an American factory that had been challenged personally. Temporary roads appeared across the sand. Cooling towers rose beside the carvacs on flatbed platforms. White tents became sealed laboratories. Shipping containers opened into machine shops. Someone painted yellow safety lines around alien gravity nodes as if the humans had decided the dead cruiser was no more mysterious than a construction zone off Interstate 80. Our analysts waited for confusion. They waited for the first human error. They waited for the moment Earth would request assistance, manuals, translation keys, anything. Instead, Ryan divided the ship into problems. That was the part that made me uncomfortable. Humans did not treat the carvacs as one superior machine. They cut it into questions. What still carries load? What still stores heat? What still routes power? What can be isolated? What can be ignored? What can be made useful by removing the parts that think too highly of themselves? A young engineer asked whether the main cannon assembly should be preserved for study. Ryan looked at the scan, shook his head, and said, "The barrel is antique. The mount is priceless." They removed the cannon without ceremony and kept the rotating foundation. Another team found the shield projector grid, which our records listed as obsolete because it could not resist modern plasma lances. Ryan asked what it could resist. The answer came back after 20 minutes of testing. Micrometeor impacts, radiation surges, high-velocity debris. Ryan smiled again and told them to stop calling it a shield. Start calling it a storm wall. That was when I began to understand the difference between our species. We discarded tools when they failed their original purpose. Humans asked what new purpose the failure had accidentally created. The Carvox engine core was the best example. Every compact inspector had labeled it unstable because its containment rhythm drifted under military load. Ryan did not try to run it like a warship reactor. He lowered the demand, spread the pulse through American-built regulators, and turned a dangerous power spike into a steady industrial heartbeat. At midnight local time, the lights inside the cruiser stopped flickering. They steadied. Clean white human flood lamps replaced amber emergency strips. The old alien corridors no longer looked haunted. They looked occupied. By dawn, Earth had not restored the Carvox. That would have been worrying. Enough. They had begun translating it into something else. A machine that used alien bones, American wiring, human software, and the most terrifying design philosophy I had ever seen. If a part could not be trusted, they bypassed it. If a system refused to cooperate, they humbled it. If a weapon was too old to frighten anyone, they turned its support structure into something quieter, something patient, something waiting. Silence is not empty when humans are inside it. It has weight. It has schedules. It has trucks moving without headlights across a Nevada access road at 3 in the morning while the rest of the planet pretends nothing unusual is happening. After the first dawn, Earth stopped performing for the galaxy. The public cameras were pushed back beyond the perimeter. The official human statement became a single line repeated every 6 hours through diplomatic channels. Evaluation is ongoing. That was all. No speeches. No complaints. No proud announcement that they had mastered alien technology. No frightened request for another inspection window. Just evaluation is ongoing, spoken with the same dry politeness humans use when telling a customer service desk that a problem has become serious. Admiral Sorik declared the silence proof of confusion. He said Earth had finally opened the Carvox and discovered how far behind they truly were. The council liked that explanation. It was comfortable. It allowed them to return to their meals, their debates, their private jokes about monkeys with plasma tools. I wanted to believe it too. Then my staff began showing me the patterns. Civilian weather satellites over North America adjusted orbit by fractions of a degree. Not enough to trigger military concern, just enough to create overlapping observation coverage above the Nevada desert. Cargo aircraft landed at remote airfields in Utah, Arizona, and California, then took off again empty. Manufacturing plants across the United States reported scheduled maintenance, but their power draw increased instead of dropping. A steel mill in Pennsylvania ran through the night. A microchip facility in Texas canceled visitor tours. A defense contractor in Colorado shut its public network for 12 minutes, then came back online with every external camera facing the parking lot disabled. None of it looked like mobilization by itself. Together, it looked like an entire country had inhaled and was holding its breath. Ryan Walker disappeared from every visible feed for 31 hours. That bothered me more than the satellites. Humans who seek credit stay near cameras. Humans doing real work vanish into rooms with bad coffee and locked doors. When he appeared again, he was standing on top of a mobile platform beside the Carvox engine spine, wearing a hard hat, safety glasses, and the expression of a man who had not slept but had won an argument with physics. A colonel handed him a tablet. Ryan read it, nodded once, and said, "Tell Michigan we need the second batch cleaner. Tell Alabama the tolerances are fine. Tell California their software patch worked, but I hate the interface." I stared at the translation, waiting for some grand military code to emerge. It did not. He was coordinating factories like a man ordering parts for a truck that happened to be 940 feet long. By the third day, the desert around the Carvox had changed shape. New trenches carried power lines under the sand. Temporary towers ringed the site. The old alien hull was covered in human scaffolding, whitework lights, and little red warning flags. A junior analyst whispered that it looked less like a captured warship and more like a house being remodeled by people who did not respect the original architect. I told her that was absurd. Then the entire Nevada site went dark for 4 seconds. When the lights returned, the Carvox returned with them, but not in our colors. Not amber. Not Theroin red. Clean white light ran through the seams of the hull like a pulse. Somewhere inside that impossible machine, Ryan Walker had made the dead ship answer in English. The first probe was supposed to be invisible. That was the official reason Admiral Sorek authorized it, though everyone in the observation gallery understood the real reason. We were embarrassed. Earth had taken our dead cruiser, refused our help, hidden the work site, and then somehow made the Carvox light up in a color no Theroin system had ever produced. The council wanted answers, but they did not want to ask humans for them. Asking would mean admitting curiosity. Curiosity would sound too close to concern. So we sent a reconnaissance drone the size of a coffee table, wrapped in adaptive camouflage, drifting on silent repulsors 12,000 feet above the Nevada desert. Its mission was simple. Enter the restricted airspace, map the modifications, identify the power source, transmit, withdraw. It had crossed active war zones without detection. It had watched treaty negotiations through lead-lined walls. It had once floated inside a pirate moon for 9 days without triggering a single alarm. Against a young planet with chemical aircraft and loud rockets, it should have been untouchable. For the first 14 seconds, it was. The feed showed the desert at night, black sand, whitework lights, the old hull of the Carvox surrounded by scaffolding and temporary towers. Humans moved below in small groups, hard hats shining under floodlamps. Ryan Walker stood near the base of the engine spine with a tablet in one hand and a paper cup in the other. Coffee, according to the translator. Of course it was coffee. Humans drink stimulant liquid while making history, which says unpleasant things about their nervous systems. The drone descended another 500 feet. Its scanner touched the outer hull. Data began to stream back. New wiring. New heat sinks. American control nodes. Shield capacitors rerouted through ground anchors. Then Ryan looked up. Not toward the drone exactly. Toward the empty patch of air where the drone believed it was hidden. He lowered the coffee cup. That was all. No alarm. No shouting. No scramble of soldiers pointing weapons into the sky. Ryan simply looked up and frowned like a neighbor had stepped onto his lawn without asking. The drone feed blinked once. Our telemetry officer straightened. I asked what had happened. She said the drone had lost positional confidence. I asked what that meant. She said it no longer knew where it was. Then the feed went black. Not static. Not interference. Black. 8 seconds passed in the observation gallery, and those 8 seconds stretched until every breath sounded too loud. When the feed returned, the probe was no longer above Nevada. It was parked inside our own shuttle bay aboard the Pale Crown, resting neatly on the deck with its landing lights blinking in a calm, humiliating rhythm. No hull damage. No scorch marks. No sign of force. Its memory banks had been erased, reorganized, and labeled in English. One file remained. Audio only. Admiral Sorek ordered it played. Ryan Walker's voice came through the chamber speakers, tired and mildly annoyed. That was rude. No threat followed. No demand. No diplomatic protest. Just 3 words, delivered like a man reminding a stranger not to touch his tools. The gallery stayed silent. Then a second file appeared on the probe display, created after we thought the system was clean. It contained a simple maintenance note. If you want to look, knock first. After the probe came back with Ryan Walker's voice inside it, the council stopped calling the Nevada site a curiosity project. They called it a security matter, which is what powerful beings say when their joke begins taking notes on them. Admiral Sorek ordered a full remote scan from orbit, but Earth had already changed the rules around the Carvox. Every sensor beam we aimed at the desert returned clean, organized nonsense. Thermal readings showed normal sand. Gravity readings showed normal bedrock. Electromagnetic scans reported a weather monitoring station, 3 maintenance trucks, and 1 large metal object marked in the database as privately owned agricultural equipment. That last part felt personal. We knew the cruiser was there. We could see its shape through optical lenses when the clouds cleared. Yet every advanced system we trusted politely insisted there was nothing militarily relevant below. Humans had not hidden the ship. They had taught our instruments to underestimate it. That was when the old warship woke up wrong. Not loudly. Not with dramatic engines shaking the desert. Not with weapons unfolding into the night sky like some ancient imperial beast remembering its teeth. It began with a checklist. A human checklist. Line by line. System by system. Permission by permission. Power routing confirmed. Ground anchors stable. Reactor pulse within tolerance. Shield lattice renamed Stormwall. Navigation core isolated. Original command intelligence disconnected. External authority denied. That final phrase appeared on our stolen text feed for less than a second before the feed collapsed, but I saw it. External authority denied. 3 words that should never appear inside a Theroan siege cruiser. The Carvox had been built to obey compact command codes above all others. Fleet priority. Admiral priority. Council priority. Its oldest circuits should have recognized our authority the way a child recognizes a parent's voice. Ryan had removed that instinct. Worse, he had replaced it with something colder. Local control. Human verification. Manual override. Physical lockout. The ship no longer trusted the species that made it. At the center of the Nevada command shelter, Ryan stood before a wall of monitors with a headset around his neck and a paper cup of coffee cooling in his hand. He looked tired, but not uncertain. Around him, American engineers watched the first full activation sequence with the nervous focus of people who had built a bridge and were now driving the first truck across it. A colonel asked if the platform was ready. Ryan looked at the power curves, then at the live image of the hull. For a moment, his face softened, almost like pity. Not for us. For the machine. Then he said, "Wake it up gently." The desert towers lit one by one. Clean white light moved through the alien armor, not in the harsh pulses of Theroan command systems, but in steady lines that looked measured, patient, and deeply human. The gravity anchors buried under Nevada bedrock locked into place. The old shield grid unfolded across the site without forming a dome. Instead, it spread low and wide, hugging the ground, catching dust, static, and moonlight until the whole desert seemed to hold its breath. Our tactical computers failed to classify it. Defensive shield. Industrial stabilizer. Weather barrier. Communications array. Every label was partly right and completely useless. Ryan watched the readings settle, then gave the smallest nod. Somewhere inside that ancient hull, alien systems translated human orders into motion and did not ask our permission. Admiral Sorek whispered that it was impossible. I wanted to agree with him. Then the Carvox turned its primary sensor mast toward the Pale Crown in orbit, found our observation gallery through 4 layers of stealth screening, and blinked one white light at us like a man across the street closing his garage door. Admiral Sorek should have stopped after the white light blinked at us. That would have been the intelligent choice. A quiet diplomatic pause. A revised technical assessment. Perhaps even an apology wrapped in enough formal language to survive public review. Instead, pride made another decision for him. He declared that Earth had a legally modified compact property, which was impressive considering we had signed every transfer document ourselves and stamped the vessel as permanently abandoned. Legal reality did not matter. Public embarrassment did. Within 2 hours, a recovery group dropped from high orbit. 3 compact cruisers, 6 utility tugs, and 1 command ship carrying a retrieval authority strong enough to claim lost equipment in 47 jurisdictions. They did not arrive with weapons armed. Sorek was not foolish enough to start a visible confrontation above Earth. They arrived with paperwork, tractor arrays, override codes, and the kind of confidence that comes from believing ownership is a law of physics. Their orders were simple. Approach the Nevada site from orbit, establish command priority over the Carvox, lock the reactor, detach the human modifications, and tow the hull back into space for safety review. I watched the operation from the Pale Crown and felt the first true discomfort of my career. Below us, Earth did not scramble fighters. It did not issue threats. It did not even move the Carvox. The old cruiser sat in the desert, quiet and white-lined, surrounded by towers and floodlights like a sleeping machine that knew exactly who had entered the room. Ryan Walker appeared on an open channel when the recovery group crossed 12 miles above the site. He was standing inside the Nevada Command shelter, sleeves rolled up, coffee on the table, eyes tired but steady. Admiral Sorek demanded immediate restoration of compact access. Ryan listened politely. Then he said, "You gave us the hull. We improved the lesson." Sorek ordered the override codes transmitted. For one beautiful second, our screens showed success. The recovery group linked with the old Theroin authentication spine. The Carvox acknowledged the signal. Then it asked a question no compact machine had ever asked before. "Please confirm local human authorization." The command deck went silent. Sorek repeated the code. The Carvox repeated the question. Then the desert towers lit in sequence. Not bright, not aggressive, just awake. The recovery cruisers lost navigation first. Their engines did not fail. They simply refused to accept new direction commands until safety verification completed. The utility tugs released their tractor arrays and then politely locked themselves out of their own winch controls. The command ship tried to climb, but its flight computer reported that upward movement required clearance from a traffic authority it could not identify. On our display, the entire recovery group drifted into a neat holding pattern above Nevada, evenly spaced, perfectly stable, completely helpless, like school buses waiting outside a field trip museum. No shots fired. No alarms worth respecting. Just control removed with humiliating cleanliness. Ryan watched the formation settle, then spoke through the same open channel. "All vessels are safe. Your crews are safe. Your systems are paused because you entered restricted airspace after being asked not to." A junior officer beside Sorek whispered that Earth had used our own docking logic against us. I corrected her without thinking. "No, they used our assumptions." On the main screen, the Carvox rotated one sensor mast toward the trapped ships, scanned them gently, and sent each vessel a readable flight plan back to high orbit. At the bottom of every plan was the same English note. "Please take your litter with you." The recovery group remained suspended above Nevada for 19 minutes. And those 19 minutes rewrote more military doctrine than 3 centuries of border conflicts. Nothing exploded. No hulls cracked. No crews were harmed. That was the most humiliating part. If Earth had destroyed the ships, Admiral Sorek could have called it aggression. He could have demanded sanctions, summoned allies, wrapped his embarrassment in righteous outrage, and marched into the council chamber pretending strength. Humans denied him even that. They left every vessel intact. Every life support system stable, every command chair occupied by officers who could do nothing except watch their screens politely refuse them. Then Ryan Walker released them one at a time. Not all together. One at a time, like a parent handing back toys after explaining the rules. Each ship received a safe departure path, a diagnostic report, and a list of systems Earth had temporarily paused for airspace protection. The language was professional. The tone was courteous. That made it worse. When the last tug cleared the 12-mile boundary, the Carvox powered down to idle, and the white lines across its hull softened until they looked almost peaceful beneath the desert stars. Ryan did not give a victory speech. He did not threaten the compact. He did not demand an apology in front of the galaxy. He simply removed his headset, rubbed one hand across his face, and told the colonel beside him, "Put the coffee back on. We are going to have paperwork now." I heard that line through the open channel, and for reasons I still cannot fully explain, it frightened me more than the entire activation sequence. Humans had just taken an obsolete alien siege cruiser, rebuilt its logic, blocked a recovery fleet, embarrassed a decorated admiral, and turned a diplomatic insult into a planetary defense platform. Their first concern afterward was paperwork. That was when I understood. The nightmare was never the Carvox. The nightmare was not the reactor, or the storm wall, or the clean white light running through alien armor like Earth had signed its name in electricity. The nightmare was the human habit of making impossible things routine. Give them a broken ship, and they make it useful. Deny them manuals, and they write better ones. Spy on their worksite, and they return your probe cleaner than they found it. Send ships to reclaim your mistake, and they teach those ships manners without raising their voice. Admiral Sorik lost command 3 days later. Officially, he resigned for health and strategic reflection. Unofficially, no one wanted him near anything humans might improve out of spite. My own report to the Galactic Disposal Authority was 76 pages long, with charts, timelines, technical estimates, and 11 separate recommendations. But the Council only remembered the final sentence, because fear prefers simple rules. Do not give humans obsolete technology. Do not give humans broken weapons. Do not give humans abandoned ships, damaged engines, failed prototypes, discarded armor, or anything with a power source still inside it. In fact, do not give humans trash at all. They will look at it for 10 seconds, ask why you stopped there, and build something that makes the galaxy feel young.